It's your boy Chris Casanova coming at you with some straight talk. Pronouns are they, them, or whatever. But remember, folks, respect people's pronouns and don't be a dick.
Hi, everybody. I'm your other co-host, J-Mac. My pronouns are he and him, and we're here with a special guest, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm MPP Schreiner, the MPP for Guelph, leader of the Green Party of Ontario. My pronouns, he, him.
Excellent.
Perfect. Some parties have a little trouble saying that sometimes.
Oh, I have no trouble saying what my pronouns are.
So the Green Party, how does the Green Party actually make sure that the LGBT is included in the conversations? Like, how do you make sure that the party is actually creating space so they can be heard?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have a very strong platform supporting LGBTQ plus two-spirited rights. And also we encourage a lot of our candidates. So, matter of fact, federally, we were the first party in Canada to have an openly gay party leader. Chris Lee, two leaders prior to Elizabeth May.
You're aging me now.
Yeah, I'm aging you now, probably aging a lot of people now. But also making sure that we encourage candidates from the LGBTQ plus community to run for the Green Party and to be open about their identity, their pronoun in their efforts running for the party. And we also make sure that we have inclusive safe spaces for everyone, period, in our party. So just in terms of making sure we have policies and procedures in place to protect people, to be inclusive, and to have a process that if people feel as if they've been discriminated against in any way, whether it's gender identity, race, ethnicity, religion, et cetera, that there's a process for them to feel that they can complain in a safe way and that action will take place.
And wasn't it the Green Party too, back I believe in the early 1990s, and were the first ones to support gay marriage in Canada?
That's right, yeah, absolutely. So we've been very supportive of gay marriage for a long, long time. And I should also point out other part, the NDP has been very progressive on LGBTQ plus issues as well. And I know Sherry DeNovo, who's a friend of mine, has been at the forefront of that. So I wouldn't say we're the only party that's been pushing, and obviously, the Liberals, Kathleen Wynne, the first openly gay premier of Ontario, and so, we encourage cross-party collaboration on human rights issues, and especially issues related to the LGBTQ plus community.
Do you find that a bit of a challenge with some parties specifically?
Easier with some parties than others. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But you know what? I encourage people from all parties to stand up for human rights.
That's an interesting thing. One of the things is, why is it important for the leaders of parties to actually participate in pride events and pride parades?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I think every party leader should be marching in the Toronto Pride Parade, and I was deeply disappointed that Premier Ford has decided not to do that. I will say that it was great to see that he marched in the York Pride Parade, but, obviously the Toronto Pride Parade is the largest, it's the most visible, it's the one that brings people from, across the country, across the world in some cases, and so for him to not march in Toronto Pride is disappointing, because I think it's important for every party leader of any party to stand up for human rights, and in particular to stand up for the rights of the LGBTQ plus community, and to not only celebrate, because a lot of Pride is about celebration, but let's also not forget the history of Pride, which is a history of protest and demanding inclusion and demanding human rights, demanding equal rights. And I think that history is important as we celebrate Pride today.
Now, what sort of things, because I know there are lots of areas that are lacking as far as LGBTQ plus rights, whether it's gender neutral washrooms or healthcare for trans people. What sort of areas do you feel as someone who's involved in politics is sort of lacking?
Yeah, well, can I just do a quick shout out to my daughter?
Yeah.
And I don't want to embarrass her, but she was a part
You're
of the
going to,
protest.
Michael?
I'm going to anyway. She was a part of the protest movement to have the first transgendered washroom in a public school in Ontario.
Oh, very good.
And there's a great picture in one of the ETFO, the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario publications, of her and her friend holding up a trans right side in their school. And now we're seeing, obviously trans washrooms across the province now, but obviously not good enough. Like it should be, safe washroom spaces, safe change facilities, equal access to healthcare should be available to everyone in this province. Period.
So the Green Party also supports pharmacare, if I'm not mistaken.
We do, yeah. No, we came out fully supportive of pharmacare, absolutely. I mean, for one, we want to make sure everyone in Ontario has access to publicly funded, publicly delivered health care, but also pharmacare will make prescription medicine less expensive. So it's a win for our finances and our pocketbooks, but it's also a win for making sure everyone in our province has equal access to health care, including medications.
Yeah, so that would make like things like PrEP and all those kind of things available.
Absolutely,
more
for sure.
Exactly.
Or,
HIV meds.
Or hormones for people who are going through medical transitions.
That's right, exactly, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and so you mentioned some of these drugs are incredibly expensive, and so if we don't make them publicly available and equally accessible, then we're discriminating against people based on income, and we don't think that's right.
We were just talking about it earlier that PrEP was, what, like $2,500 a month?
No, that was HIV meds.
HIV meds,
but
yeah.
I think PrEP's like $200 and some odd dollars a month.
I mean, $200 a month is still very expensive for a lot of people. I mean, that adds up
That's
over the
like-
course of a year.
That's like 75% of a paycheck for some people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and HIV meds absolutely are horrendously expensive, and to not have them readily accessible and available to everyone just isn't right.
Yeah, and I know you're aware of U equals U, the undetectable equals untransmittable, and
Yes.
people on meds need to get on the meds to get there.
That's
so
right.
It's like you could actually end HIV in Canada if
You could.
if we really wanted to.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. If we had the political will to do it, we could do it.
Yeah, I think you have the political will.
Absolutely, for sure. And we're going to keep advocating. And what I tell people is, people of Ontario, most people in this province care. And so sometimes people just aren't aware of the fact that these types of medications are not available to people or not affordably available to people. And so some of it's just educating the public and the broader public about these kinds of issues.
So just before we wrap up, because we know you have a very busy schedule and it's Pride weekend,
Yes.
one of the things that people always talk about is that the Ford government actually has a majority government. So what can people do? Like, how can people change the direction of the current government, and how do we work with our MPPs in a way that is supportive to make that change?
Yeah. Well, can I first of all just make one quick comment on
Absolutely.
that? Is only 40% of the people who voted actually voted for a conservative MPP
That's the
or
past
the Ford
proportion-
government. So if we
proportional
had
representation
proportional
to
representation, 60% of the population voted against the Ford government.
Right.
So while they have a majority government, they don't have majority support in the population.
That's
and
very,
obviously
very valid.
their support is going down quite a bit over the last year.
Yeah.
That being said, this government has shown that when public pressure is put on them, they will backtrack. So I know when they brought forward Schedule 10 of Bill 66, which would have opened the Greenbelt for development, undermined the Clean Water Act. I know I asked the first question on that. You can imagine being the Green Party leader. But you know what? People across the province spoke out against that, and the government backtracked and completely withdrew that from the bill. When they came out with a completely flawed autism program, advocates, parents of children with autism spoke out against it, and now they've backtracked and they're scrambling to redo that. So this, when in municipal cuts, downloading cuts on the municipalities, halfway through their budget year, and there was huge pushback against that, they backtracked. So they have shown that if there's enough public pressure put on the government, they will backtrack. And so I encourage people, speak out. This is the time to speak out and talk about the kind of Ontario we want. And I think that's a caring, inclusive Ontario. That's what most people want. And when the Ford government threatens that, we need to push back against it, whether it's petitions, protests, letter writing campaigns, getting municipal councils on board, speaking out against it, other levels of government. All of that makes a difference. And so I don't think we can wait till the next election to have this government backtrack on some of their policies.
Yeah, that's very true. So, Chris, well, we want to thank you, Mike. We really appreciate you taking the time out to actually sit down with us for a few minutes, and we hope we get to do this again with you, because it seems that we could go into a very deep road or down a really long rabbit hole. I think
Yeah, I would love to come back. And
Yeah.
happy
Yeah, for
Pride
sure.
to everyone.
Yes,
Yeah.
happy
It's
Pride.
always a great weekend. Marching in the Pride Parade is probably one of my most favorite events of the year, and so everyone have a fun, safe weekend.
That's great. So make sure you check out our other episodes. You think I've been drinking all morning, but make sure you not yet.
Well, you can start at 9 a.m. now, thanks to Mr. Ford.
Oh yeah, and I can do it at a tailgate. So, and I can get it at a corner store.
There you go.
Wow, the convenience is amazing. Anyway, so make sure you check out the rest of our episodes coming at you soon, and check back with us regular. Make sure you follow us and share us on Facebook.
This is Straight Talk signing out.